the border. So what we're going to talk about today is a tool that our alliance has started using in the past year or so called Smartsheet. And we've been using it for primarily project management, data collection, and that type of stuff. So we're just going to go through this. I did give a similar presentation at the LSMCE conference back in October, so if you were lucky enough to join us, this is pretty much just a recap of that, but I have included some additional information based on the questions that we received at that conference. So let's go ahead and get started. Hopefully I can remember how to use this. So the Inspire LS-AMP Alliance, we're 16 colleges and universities, as I said, in 3 states. We have 5 community college, a tribal college, 3 state regions, and the rest of the Alliance is private colleges and universities. One of the interesting things about our makeup is that none of us are part of a system. So we're all completely independent, which has brought along with it some challenges in collecting data for year-end reporting, such as just our annual report or for WebAMP. And so that's why we've had to turn to some interesting ways about collecting data in ways that maybe some of the other LS-AMP alliances have not. As we talk to different alliances, we find that some are made up of primarily just a system, or it's a combination of system colleges and independent colleges. So some of the management challenges we have, of course, is WebAMP entry. Going back to the year end and looking at that, trying to gather data across 16 institutions that vary a lot, and trying to track student progress beyond just graduation or tracking them after they transfer from a community college to a 4-year institution, either within our alliance or outside of our alliance. And then also just retention tracking as well. So Smartsheet, as I said, it's a project management tool. It's web-based. And in a little bit, I'll take you to the website just so you can see what it looks like. We were originally introduced to Smartsheet through a department here on our campus called Grants Hub. And Grants Hub helps different departments on our campus with submitting proposals, especially if they're large proposals involving a large number of collaborators, especially such as LS-AMP. But they introduced us to this, and it worked perfectly for what we were doing when we were collecting proposal documents, collecting the resumes or CVs, collecting budget information and that sort of thing. It was great because we had a nice central place that we could go to collect those documents. We received campus director feedback saying that they really enjoyed using the Smartsheet. It was much easier. And we also received feedback from some of the assistants that worked with the PIs at these campuses, really interested in what Smartsheet can do and how they can use it at their campuses. And based on that, that's why we decided to continue using it. And not only that, as I was going through Smartsheet and some of the benefits, or what is the word I'm looking for? Some of the features, excuse me, that it had, I realized that it could be used in so many ways beyond just putting together our proposal for the next 5 years for NSF. So how are we using Smartsheet for our program? Well, we're using it for just general project management and collaboration. We use it for our annual reporting, to put a report together. There's a lot of information we collect, excuse me, beyond just the WebAMP data that we want to put into our annual report, such as how many students went to conferences, how many students were in our bridge programming, that particular sort of information. We're using it for our student database, which ties into evaluation. We've also created a mentor database so we can keep track of our mentors, what departments they're in, how to get a hold of them, and what students that they've been working with in the past. Budget management is something new that we've started to use it for. Many of our schools are very small. They don't have grants departments, or they don't have departments that have worked with federal proposals or federal grants in the past. And so this provides an extra level for our PIs, our campus directors, to kind of manage their budget and see what it is that I'm seeing, or to even catch errors that might be occurring on their campus. And then we use it also for some online applications that we tie into our website. So we have applications for research funding, travel, conference travel funding, research supplies, and then even for our summer programs. We have a program here called Rise Up, and then for our annual conference registrations as well. So as you can see through all of this, it has a lot of really great features. So here are just some minor, kind of more, I guess, direct features. We have Smartsheet has what they call private workspaces, which is wonderful for our situation, especially when we're sharing student data or information about students, or even race, ethnicity information about our mentors that maybe they don't want to be shared publicly. So we have these private workspaces where each of our colleges can go in and access the worksheets that we've created for them. And it's only shared to them or with them. And that way, campus directors at other campuses cannot see what is being reported, but the Alliance office itself has access to everything. In addition, these campus directors or their team members can go in and they can make edits to these worksheets that they're doing. And everything is done in real time, so we know that it's current and up to date. So we can share the worksheets and workspaces with anybody in our group. You can even share workspaces with someone outside of your group, but generally that does not occur. We can send email requests directly from the platform, so that if you're like me and you get like 10,000 emails a day, this feature allows that email to really stay within Smartsheet so that it doesn't get lost among everything else in your inbox. You can set up reminders. So if you want a campus director or a student to remember to do something or update something, you can use the reminders and the notifications features to do that. You can create templates. So like I said, we have 16 workspaces. We basically have everyone collecting the same information. And so by creating templates, we're not having to create a new worksheet every single time. We can create the web forms, which we use, like I said, for event planning or, for student funding requests. We're able to run reports based on the information. So at the end of the year, or when we want to report our WebAMP data, we can pull the information we need from all of the worksheets or specific worksheets within our Smartsheet. And this can happen across workspaces. The information can be exported to Excel, into a PDF, or other type of software. And then also, one feature of Smartsheet is that it does integrate with other platforms such as DocuSign, Box, and they keep integrating with more and more other platforms all the time, and it's constantly changing. So for project management, this is kind of like this basic thing that we use it for. I have a little snapshot, but I'm going to show you what it actually looks like in Smartsheet here in just a second. This is like our action items list, this little picture. I'm actually And what we can do is if we have certain items that we want our campus directors to complete, instead of sending them constant email reminders, we have this wonderful little spreadsheet where we list what items are due, and we list who it is that is required to fulfill that requirement or to complete it. And then we also can set a date when it's due. And then if it's been received, we can mark that off in the received box. And as you can see, there's a little, kind of see it, it's really tiny, it's a little paper clip here. And what that does is, if there's, it's kind of like an assignment, we have a student experience model, we want them to review it, update it, and then send it to us. And so they can attach it into Smartsheet, and it's right there for us to access. And in the future, if that campus director, such as Jeffrey, wants to access what he has sent us, he can click on that paperclip and see what exactly he sent us in the past. So it's really nice. We have the ability to kind of keep track of where everyone is in fulfilling the activities or requirements that we have for them. And we constantly update this all the time. So when WebAMP data is due, that would be one of the activities. And then from this, we can send them a reminder like, hey, you know, it's past the deadline. We still want the impact report dissemination plan. So let me try to switch over to Smartsheet itself. And John, I might need your help if you're still on the line, because I kind of forget how to do some of this. But let's see if we can. Yep. Do I just share my screen? Okay. And then I just pick what I want. Where is it at? Here we go.
Okay.
Okay.
I see.
And share.
I see your smartsheet.com
okay, can you see?
tab open in your browser.
Yeah.
Everyone else see that?
Okay. All right.
Yeah, I can see it.
Can you see? So you can see the whole Smartsheet. Is that correct? Okay. Okay, great. Because I'm using two screens, so I'm not sure what's showing up. But so let me take you to the action items list that I was telling you about. As you can see, on the left-hand side of your screen is this window, and it has all these little round blue icons with little people pictures in them, and those are our different workspaces. So, and I have a workspace created for each of our Alliance institutions. So you see 16 of them, and then we also have like a project management one, and I have a webinar one. So you can create a lot of different workspaces for what you're doing. And if I open up one of these arrows, you'll see all the folders, and within these folders are our different worksheets that we use. And for Augustana College, it's only shared. If you look clear on the right-hand side of the screen, it says Workspace Shared To, and it shows the individuals that it's shared to. So Louie is my assistant, Diane is our director of Inspire LSAMP, Mary's our evaluator, and then Jeff, who is the campus director for Augustana. And those are the only individuals that can see any of the information in this workspace. So individuals at like Des Moines Area Community College or Doane University does not have access to this information. So let's go back to the action items list that I had showed you earlier. I open up the right workspace here. It's going to load, and you can see it's updated a little bit. I've highlighted anything that's in red, showing that you know, it's past due. Here's the paperclip icon on the left-hand side of the screen. If I click on that, a window opens up, and you can see what has been attached. And the campus director can attach stuff. I can attach stuff. And it just kind of keeps growing. And as far as I know, there is not a limit to how many things that you can attach. If you see this little balloon here, this is the comments box. And you can leave little comments for the campus director or vice versa. You can leave a comment for you. You can share links, which is really nice. And then you can also use this feature if you click on the little arrow. you'll see this little drop-down box appear, and you can send an update request, and that's just to ask them to maybe update their information if something's changed. Or you can send, you can set a reminder, so if you want them to be reminded automatically about when something is due, you can do that. So you don't have to remember to email everyone on February 23rd to turn in their information. You can already set it for the 23rd, enter a message, and it'll just automatically go out on that date. So this is something we use. We've also added like a column for our campus directors to mark when something's done, in case there was something that does not have an attachment or maybe isn't as obvious that it's completed. So that's how we use it for general project management. I'm going to go back here to our home screen. The other things, as I mentioned, is like we use forms for like applications and whatnot, and I'll show you what that looks like. Here's an application for travel funds from students. So you can see that's filled out, and it's filled out by the student, but if you click at the bottom, there's a web form tab, and we can preview the web form. So this is what we send to our students, where we have a link on our website with all the directions and then the application information. Students can also upload file attachments. So if you want to see like a PDF abstract of their research poster they're going to present, they can upload that file attachment. And you can also set it up so that if you want, after the student finishes this and you want the mentor to approve it, you can send an update request to the mentor to have them approve this request as well. So those are just some general ways that we're using it for project management. So let me flip back here to my slides. Do I just hit share document? Is that correct, John? Good thing he's here. Okay. So let me go back. So now for the next slide, web forms and worksheets, and here's a few more examples. We have like an additional annual reporting information web form for the end of the year annual reporting, Rise Up summer application, and then more. So so let's go into annual reporting next. So what we were doing before with annual reporting is we had actually reached out to the Wisconsin LSAMP to ask them, like, how do you do annual reporting? How do you collect all this information for WebAMP? And they shared with us their forms, which at the time it worked for what we needed. And the problem is that sometimes we might have people fill out multiple forms, or they might fill out a form for every single meeting they had, and it could get a little cumbersome at times. Or our campus directors wouldn't necessarily follow the protocol that we asked them to do. So these were really a nice way to start out when we didn't have any other options available to us for collecting information. And in the end, it actually served as kind of our templates for Smartsheet when we started to use Smartsheet. It was, at least for the evaluator, very laborious and tedious. I know a lot of our campus directors complained about it as well, especially if they had a lot of students in their program. So what we decided to do in Smartsheet is that we created these different web forms for each of those forms that we were using for WebAMP. So we have a student demographics information form where we collect student information, and this form can be filled out by the student or it can be filled out by the campus director. If it's completed by the campus director, we want them to upload a hard copy of the form with the student's signature on it. The reason for that is that we're asking the students to, we provided an acknowledgement that we do share the information with NSF for one, and then we do ask them if we can use their photo or anything like that for marketing purposes, that sort of thing. We've created one for like what I showed you earlier was the additional reporting information, and then we have a team participant information form. So if we want to collect information about all the different teams at each of the campuses, we can do that. This says that we're converting, but we've actually converted over. We have a mentor database now where we collect faculty demographics, and then we also have one for activities information. So all of those forms that Wisconsin LSAMP had shared with us, we just converted them into web forms in Smartsheet. And as I said before, we can also do update requests, which is great because if a student wants to update, if we want the student to update their GPA information, we can actually just send a request to them to update their GPA information. So it's quite brilliant in that respect. So here is a student database we had created originally in SciPoint or SharePoint. Iowa State likes to dub everything with cyclones. We had one in SharePoint, but it worked pretty good for the most part, except that our external users, our campus directors, had terrible login issues. Eventually what we learned was from Iowa State, the IT department, was that they were going to do away with SharePoint completely because everyone had so many problems, which meant that we were going to have to recreate our student database all over again. So it sort of mildly worked when external users could get into the program, but it was not popular by any means. So how does our student database look now? So when a student or a campus director completes the student demographics web form, when they complete this web form, automatically that information goes into the spreadsheet, which looks exactly like Excel. It functions like Excel. There's a few little minor differences, but everything in Smartsheet, as far as the worksheets are concerned, very similar to Excel. So if you know how to use Excel, you'll be able to use Smartsheet, and it really doesn't require a lot of training to do so. As I said, each campus is provided with their own workspace. In their workspace, they have one of these student demographics reporting worksheets. So they have access to the web form. They can send that to their student to have them complete the web form. Once the student completes that, the information is funneled into this file, into this spreadsheet. Now, once it's filed into this spreadsheet, you can collect everything. Our form is actually, it's really long. I don't even want to know how many columns it is. One of the beauties about this is that we can add columns to this spreadsheet that does not show up in the web form. So the web form does not have to use all of the columns that's in your spreadsheet. And I'll show you that in just a minute. It does also have an upload feature in the demographics form, so if there's some other information we're trying to collect, we can collect that as well. And then, as I said, campus directors can send these update requests. So let me just switch back over to Smartsheet so you can see this a little bit better. Okay. All right. So I've created some for our little webinar here. I'm going to open up the student information tab here. And as you can see, this is all of the student, this is only for one school, by the way. So this is some of the student information we collected using this web form. I'll click on the web form and we'll preview it. So here's the web form. Pretty simple: name, college, university, email, LinkedIn site. That's something extra that we ask for so we can kind of keep track of students after they graduate. Citizenship, we ask when they participate in the program. We update this every year. Major or anticipated major, and we list the ones that are provided in WebAMP. If students are unsure about where they fit into this, we do provide a link to the zip codes, class standing, GPA, financial support, on and on and on. And then, of course, demographic information. And then below is where we ask for their permission, and we provide the acknowledgement and ask for them to sign and date. And then here's some additional instructions for our campus directors, and ask them to upload a signed copy of the form in case the student didn't do the electronic form. So we'll click out of that. So in the spreadsheet, we have all of the columns that you've seen in the web form, except that we actually have some additional columns that is not included in the web form. I'm going to keep scrolling on down through this. You can see it's very long. But we'll ask for a number of things. Let me see if there's something in particular. Oh, here, for example, we have activities. So we're tracking what activities they've been participating in years 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. This doesn't show up in the web form. This is just something for us so that we can keep track of what students are doing. Also helps us kind of get an idea when the students entered the program. And then we can see previous financial support that's not in the web form, and previous participation. And then so you'll see that there is some paper clips attached to some of these student records. And if you click on them, you'll see that the campus director or somebody uploaded a student demographic hard copy. Another nice thing about this database is that if you have a copy of the student's poster, you can attach it here. If you have photos of the student, you can attach them here. Anything related to the student that you want to track or keep track of can be attached to that student's record. And it'll always be there, and it will stay with them. And then if you, at the end of the year, you want the student to update their GPA, an update request can be performed. Let me actually click on the student's form, and you can put the student's email address in here. You can change the subject so they understand what they're receiving. You can add a message, and then on edit is where you can actually select what thing. Do you want them to update everything, or do you want them to only update particular things? So let's say we just wanted the GPA. We would select that, click OK, write a message. You can even, change like the delivery options. If you want it to happen on a particular date, you can set it. You hit send, and that just is set as an email to the student. Once they update that, you'll receive a notification from Smartsheet in your email saying that the information's been updated in your database. So this database has really been a bit of a godsend for us. It's been much easier to use. It's in real time. The campus directors have access to it. The Alliance office has access to it. So it pretty much stays up to date all of the time. And then like I said, at the end of the year, we'll use that information for reporting. So trying to get back here. So let me go back to our slides. Sorry, I would keep jumping around, but I want you to be able to actually see the database itself, because I think it's important. It's much better than these little photos that I put in here. And I see I do have a few questions, which I'll get back to here and answer more towards the end of the webinar. So anyway, here I'm just kind of repeating what I told you earlier. You have access to it in real time. You can attach PDFs of posters, articles, publications. The evaluator can run a report on the information. It's really quite brilliant in how it works. So the mentor database is very similar to the student database, and we have a web form that we send to the mentors and ask them to enter their information. it's not as successful as the student one because sometimes mentors are a little bit harder to get them to sit down and answer your emails or to fill out a form. They're busy like us, but any chance that we can try, we sure do that. Budget management, and this one I said is new, but we noticed there was a lot of like communication problems between our campus directors and sometimes their accounting departments or their grants departments. And so we wanted some way of communicating with our campus directors on how much money we're seeing left in their account on our end. Because there might be times where I'm like, I show that you have $20,000 left in your account and you're asking me to amend your subcontract for another $20,000. Where's your money, or why hasn't it been spent? And so having a budget management, the ability for them to see the budget or what you see has been very helpful. And we can also share that sheet with their accounting department or their grants department. And it's only that sheet that they see. They don't have to see all the other sheets that are in that workspace. So let me see if I didn't include a picture, so I'll have to switch back real quick. So you can see what that looks like. Okay, so let me click on this little tab here. And so this is just an example of a budget spreadsheet that we share with our campus directors. And you can see it's all split out just like it looks very similar to the budget that you sent to NSF in your proposal. You know, participant support costs are separated out. At the bottom, I put in like direct costs and I separate it from the participant support costs. That way they can see, you know, like, yeah, I need you to spend more money, but it's not on salary. I need you to be spending some participant support funds. And then I can also include little notes for them as well. And if they want to leave a comment for me, they can do that as well. So, and then at the very top, you'll see in bright yellow where I put how much of their funds have been spent, which is also helpful as well, I think, for them, especially if they're not getting updated reports from their grants department. So, go back to this PowerPoint. All right, so evaluation and reports. So this again is genius. And we actually tested it for the first time this week because we're, you know, doing our WebAMP reporting. We're a little bit behind, but we were like, okay, we got to start entering all of the students, updating their information, that sort of thing. And so in Smartsheet, what I did is I pulled a report from all of the worksheets that are affiliated with the student demographics. So you can go in and say, I want to run up a report. You select the worksheets that you want the report to be ran on, and then you select the columns that you want to be pulled. So if this little picture that you see down here, everything in blue looks a lot like a hyperlink. That is from the worksheet that the information was pulled from. We include the Alliance code and the FICE code ID, so we know what campus it is. And then we have the name and information, everything that we're going to need for WebAMP reporting. And you can see up here, this other little window I have, a report shows up as like a little notebook. So that's how you know it's a report that's been run. It saves a lot of time. I mean, I can we were so surprised, like when we ran our report, we're like, oh, that's done. It took us, I think, like an hour to run the report and then just make some stylistic changes to it so that we could start just copying and pasting information into WebAMP or updating information in WebAMP. So I've made up my evaluator very happy. Here is just kind of a picture or a snapshot of the report as I downloaded it into an Excel file. One of the things about the reports is that you can't make edits to the report itself. Like if you want to, like move like a record around or do anything like that, it really doesn't allow a lot of functionality in the report section. So once you download it into Excel, you can start moving things around and doing what you need to do. And here I just put it in all the columns in the same exact order as the spreadsheet that comes from WebAMP. So that our evaluator, all they have to do is just kind of maintain and look. And they put it in order based on FICE code, so they know that they're working with one campus at a time. And like I said, it's working brilliantly. We couldn't be happier with that. So templates, a lot of us have with the alliances, it's, when you got 16 colleges and you're doing basically the same form for each thing, you can create these templates and then you can save them to that particular workspace. So all I did was create one student demographics form, saved it as a template, and then I just went ahead and saved that template into each workspace. Also, if you created a web form that's associated with that template, it will also recreate the web form. So you're not recreating the web form yourself 16 times or 15 times or however many times. These templates can be shared with individuals outside of the Alliance. This is one of the questions that I had at the conference, like, oh my gosh, like, is there any way you can share your templates with me so that I don't have to recreate them? And yes, I can. And actually, I would recommend anybody who is thinking about doing Smartsheet or using this system, please reach out to me, because I'd be more than happy to share our templates with you in order to, reduce the amount of workload that's involved with this or getting it set up. Smartsheet tutorials is something that I put together for our campus directors so that they can they know how to use the Smartsheet. They're very short generally. We've had a few little meetings where we're like, oh, this is how you do this, or this is how you do that. And also having those little meetings allowed me to see if they were having any problems. It actually went really smooth, and I think they really, from what I've been told from our campus directors, they really like this new process a lot better than beforehand. I'm pretty sure there might have been a few people who asked about what does it cost. And this was another question that I was asked at the conference. And I think at the time I scared everybody by telling them what I pay. And the only reason we pay what we do is because Smartsheet is fairly new. We're working with student data. I wanted to be sure that I jumped through all of the hoops with the university and made sure that it was secure and a safe site, that the university felt comfortable with me using it. So we kind of went overboard on our plan, but it gave me a little extra security. So there is a basic plan, but it's usually designed for personal use, and you only get 10 worksheets. It's not very beneficial for this particular thing. When I talked to our Smartsheet agent, he suggested you really could do everything you want to do with either the team plan or the business plan that I'm doing now. You don't need an enterprise plan to do what we're doing. And the enterprise plan is quite pricey. But I would, at Iowa State, Smartsheet has really exploded. We have departments all over campus who are using Smartsheet, and most of them have the team plan or the business plan. Now, we are being fortunate enough that Iowa State itself is thinking about purchasing just like a campus-wide licensing system, but we'll see how that goes. That's basically everything I wanted to share with you today. And I think we could just like start answering some questions. So I'm going to kind of go back through here and look at people's questions. And I think John did a pretty good job of answering some of these questions. It says, I think Anita asked, how can multiple activities be uploaded on a single form? Yes. If I'm understanding your question right, yes, they can be. In fact, one of the things that, and I haven't really used it yet, but there is other departments on campus who have, you can create multiple web forms that are connected to the same worksheet or database. So, and it all funnels in, yeah, like it all funnels into that worksheet. I haven't had the pleasure of doing it yet, but I've been thinking that there is going to be times where I might need to access that. So there's many ways you can, what we do for ours is that we have our WebAMP evaluator prefers, or our evaluator prefers for WebAMP's sake, that we have like a certain activities that are kind of broad, so that they can be used on all of the web forms. And then when she's going through WebAMP, she doesn't have to scroll through like 5,000 activities to find the one that she wants. But we also sometimes tailor the web forms to a particular campus. Some of our campuses have different semesters. They run like, instead of 3 semesters a year, they have like 5. So we try to tailor it to that so the students aren't confused when they're filling it out. Suki asks if we've encountered any problems with concerns about data confidentiality and security. We have not. I did talk to our Smartsheet salesman today, and he's like, it's like any other program, you're going to have people who do try to hack, but that's not a central thing. It's not like they're trying to hack your particular spreadsheet, but we have not had any security concerns yet. So, like I say, it's been working very well. So Denise asks, software purchase or license, as I went through earlier, external technical support and additional costs. The enterprise, I think, provides a little bit of that, but every plan comes with some external technical support. Smartsheet is wonderful. Every time I've tried to contact them for anything, you can reach them. Another thing that they have is if there's something like a feature that you would like to see in Smartsheet and you haven't seen it yet, or there's some limitation, they do have a community where you can share that. They're always updating everything based on customer feedback. So web forms can sometimes be a little limited, and they've received, feedback on that. And at last I knew, they were actually going to make some adjustments to the web form feature, to the web form, so that we have the features that we're looking for. So John asks about an ODBC connector, and John, you're going to have to tell me what that is.
So a visualization tool like Tableau would take your data and you can make charts and graphs in real time.
Okay. Oh, yeah. So they have this really cool thing called dashboards. And then they do have like some sort of integration so that you can create charts and all kinds of things. I haven't used it yet, but one of our departments on campus, when we had sometimes we have these like round tables about Smartsheet, and we all talk about how we're using it and what we're doing, and there's actually a department who's been using it quite regularly. It's very cool. It's very cool. I haven't had a need to use it yet, but I know that our Diane, who's our alliance director, is going to be, at some point she's going to be like, Danny, I want some charts, and I'm going to have to learn how to use it. But they definitely do. They have some way to do that. Anita asks, do faculty have to fill different forms for different activities, such as poster, field trips, etc.? Yes. But we want them to be, the way that we do it, we want them to be smart about it. So if it's a field trip that's just kind of like a one-time thing, it happens, October, that's the only field trip they're going to go on, one form. Just fill out the web form for that activity only. If it's a series of field trips, we'll have them fill out one form, and in that form, they'll say, we went on a series of field trips to these places. Posters, we don't have different forms for posters. Generally, we just ask that the campus directors, if they have access to a poster, that they post it to the student record. But meetings is one where our evaluators constantly pull their hair out on. If you're having meetings with your steering council or your team members every 2 weeks, it's one form. And you just say, we meet twice a week. Basically because there's no need, I guess, on our end to have notification about an activity that occurs every 2 weeks, and it's the same thing with the same individuals. Denise asks, what is the max worksheet usage for your Alliance usage? Ours is unlimited, and that's because we have the enterprise plan. As you can see with my different workspaces, we use a lot of worksheets. I don't know if we've hit 100 sheets yet, but we're probably coming close. And that's just because we have 16 institutions, and we're constantly adding new things all the time. Because of our first 5 years, the way that our budget was created for research supplies and travel funding, that was all put in the lead institution's budget. Whereas now, with our next 5 years budget, we asked each of our campuses to put travel and research supplies funding in their budget and not in ours. And so we've had a few of our campuses say, hey, can you just use your travel funding, request worksheet or web form and add it to my workspace? And I'm like, sure. So it's kind of growing a little bit because of how that's functioning. But I think right now, if we wanted to step down, and based on our salesman, he said we actually could step down to a business plan and we would be fine. But the more sheets you want to create, obviously is going to make a change to that. So, does anybody else have any other questions? I will be sending these slides to Deb Cole at LSMCE so that she can share them with anyone. And I'm always happy to answer any questions or to help. Even if it's just sitting down with your team and looking at Smartsheet in more detail, I'm willing to do that. I'm more than happy to do that. Yeah, there's very little effort needed to maintain the system. It takes a little bit of work to get it set up, but it also depends on what you want to do. What we did is we did things in steps. So we started out with just the student database and got that going and made sure everyone was comfortable using it. And then we added like the mentor, web form or database, and made sure everyone got comfortable. So we did it in little bits, in little steps. As far as setting it up, it was really just myself and my assistant who really got things set up. We did go back and add in all of the student data from years 1 through 5, even though we're starting year 6. But if you're an Alliance that's been around for like 15 years, I would not recommend that. I would probably just say, let's start from this point on and have our student information, because entering the student information is a lot of work. So, I don't know what iframes is, John, but yes, you can embed the web forms directly into your website, or you can just provide a link to the web form. I actually did just recently embed the web form into our website, and it worked really good. Like I didn't have to make any changes to it. It was really awesome. So, How did you roll it out at the sites? Yeah, so when we rolled it out to the different sites, we made sure that our campus directors were the only one who was in charge of maintaining um, the information. And generally, that's what happens. Um, most of our sites, there's the campus director. They might have a couple of team members, but the campus directors are the one who's really doing most of the work. If they already had a team member who's doing most of, like keeping track of students and that sort of thing, they just asked me to provide access to that individual, and they're required to do that. But we start out with one person at each site until they become comfortable with it, and then after that, then we expand it to team members at that site. Did that answer your question, Deb? Thanks. Yeah, so we did a couple different ways of training our campus directors. The first thing that I did is basically, we went through it online. Those who are able to make it, we use GoToMeeting, so we just recorded the session, and then we provided that session with the slides to everybody. I also did those little tutorials just in case they needed some extra information. And then we've also had a few in-person steering council meetings. That's with all of our campus directors, where we sat down and we did a couple activities together in Smartsheet. One we did was like sharing a cute photo of a cat, so they had to use a web form and upload a photo, and then and send it to, that information was sent to a different campus director, and that campus director had to review it and make a response on it. It was a lot of fun, and I actually learned a little bit about how things, what things were working and what things were not. I had one campus director couldn't figure out why he wasn't using the Smartsheet, and it was because his email was entered wrong, and he didn't tell me. He didn't tell me he wasn't receiving anything. So having that in-person interaction was really very helpful. All right, I think I see Deb's typing, so great. All right, is there any more questions? I thought we would end early, and look, I only have 4 minutes left. Sorry, but I am a little bit a talkative person, so that's probably half of it. Any more questions?
Everyone, I'll try and get this posted up on the site in the next day or two. And you can send me or Deb the slides, and we'll put them with the recording so that people can download them while they're watching.
I see Anita's typing. I just want to give her 1 second before we completely. Great. All right. Well, thank you everyone for tuning in. I'm hoping that today's presentation was really helpful, and maybe it's something that you can use at your campus. It does require a little bit of a cost, but I think it's worth it. I think it's worth every penny. It's definitely helped things go a little bit more smoothly at our alliance, especially with everyone being not in a system. So anyway, great. Thank you very